I'm Joe. Today on Next Level Bullshit, we wonder why President Obama can't say radical Islam. For a long while now, the Obama administration has refused to use words like fundamentalist Islam, Islamicist, jihadist, and radical Islam. Even though scholars like Bernard Lewis and Eli Berman, experts in Islam who affect U.S. policy, support the term radical Islam. Josh Earnest, the press goon for the White House, gave two reasons when cornered.
The first is accuracy. We want to describe exactly what happened. These are individuals who carried out an act of terrorism, and they later tried to justify that act of terrorism by invoking the religion of Islam and their own deviant view of it.
Okay. Continue.
We also don't want to be in a situation where we are legitimizing what we consider to be a completely illegitimate justification for this violence, this act of terrorism.
The reasons make sense in today's context, especially today, where stupid people seem so easily influenced by a headline or a tweet, where major news organizations make open declarations for war.
We need to kill them. We need to kill them.
With critical thinking on the decline, people are quick to lump all Muslims as violent jihadists. Yes, radical, violent interpretations of Islam are the most prevalent online. And as Reza Aslan stated in his book, No God But God, the internet has become a bastion of violent interpretations of Islam, and for jihadism in particular, allowing militant preachers and propagandists to bypass the authority of the Ummah and communicate their anti-institutional message directly to Muslims across the world. And thanks to the relative anonymity of the internet, it is often difficult to differentiate between the Ummah and the jihadist, between the respected scholar and the dangerous dilettante. Side note, the Ummah are religious scholars and arbiters of the Sharia law. Basically, they just kind of explain and interpret the Quran. In an interview with CNN's Fareed Zakaria, Obama said, "We have the capacity to control how we respond in ways that do not undercut what's the essence of who we are. That means we don't torture, for example, and thereby undermine our values and credibility around the world." Wait, did he say we don't torture? I mean, clearly he's speaking from a state of denial, and we'll get to that denial shit in a bit. Alexis de Tocqueville stated, among other things in the 1800s, "America is great because America is good, and if America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great." Well, there goes American exceptionalism. The truth is, Obama is dancing around with political correctness to prevent offending longtime Middle Eastern ally numero uno and the original first pillar of defense against the bad guys, Saudi Arabia. Didn't we talk about Saudi Arabia before? You know, more beheadings than ISIS? Yeah, we did back in episode 9. Saudi Arabia has the strictest, most ultra-fundamentalist style of Islam, Wahhabism. Oh, and by the way, Saudi Arabia at the moment is very unstable. Some have compared it to a Game of Thrones. So we got to be extra careful with the language. Can't risk losing all that oil. The US and Saudi Arabia became bestest buddies in 1938 when two American oil companies, Standard Oil of California and the Texas Oil Company, struck big in Daman and really big in Ghawar. The oil supplied from Daman was critical for Allied forces in World War II. In 1945, Roosevelt met with Saudi King Ibn Saud when returning from the Yalta Conference to strike the Oil for Security Pact, which is still in effect today. Yeah, feeling pretty secure. Now, getting back to that denial shit, some of you might guess what's coming. Those that don't, you better sit down. Better yet, even those that do know what's coming, you should be seated, because this shit's pretty heavy. The United States, through its clandestine services, played the pivotal role in creating today's radical Islam. Let that sink in. I don't mean just by pissing off Muslim countries with our foreign policy. No, we invented it and taught it to them. It all started getting ramped up in 1979 with nice guy Jimmy Carter and his double nice guy Secretary of State Cyrus Vance. In order to help Iraq's struggles with Iran, the CIA helped Saddam Hussein convince Iraqi leadership that there were traitors in the Ba'ath Party, which was only a few days after he assumed presidency and solidified his lock on power. The American assistance in Iraq pissed off the Muslim leaders in Iran. They overthrew the American-backed Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and took a bunch of Americans hostage. It was brutal at the time. They really hated us. There were no beheadings though, and after 444 days and the secret dealings with Ronald Reagan, they were let go in mostly decent condition. So reflect on that. Early 1980s, an Islamic State really fucking pissed off at us. They had hostages. They were fucking protesting nearly every day, but no beheadings. Conditions for the hostages were certainly brutal, and there were lots of psychological torture and some beatings, but they were never seriously injured. 35 years ago, extremist Muslims weren't yet beheading captives. Got it? Then came the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and our opportunity to weaponize Islam. Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev ordered the 40th Army to invade Afghanistan on December 24th, 1979. We didn't want to get directly involved. After all, never get involved in a land war in Asia is really good advice. So we cooked up Operation Cyclone and fucked up the world. The plan was deviously simple. The Saudis would recruit Arab fighters to defend Afghanistan against the Soviets. We would give them weapons and the Pakistanis would train them. The plan was fucking brilliant. It worked. The Soviets were forced out of Afghanistan in ruins, and many see it as directly responsible for the fall of the Soviet Union. That's a twofer in my book. Soviets defeated in disgrace, Soviet Union falling apart. But we did it dirty. I mean, extra dirty, and inadvertently created the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Or maybe it wasn't so inadvertent. Jimmy Carter's national security advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, admitted the US organized and supported bin Laden and other originators in the 1970s to fight the Soviets. They created the Mujahideen, the Afghani freedom fighters. Zbigniew said, "We know of their deep belief in God, that they're confident that their struggle will succeed. That land over there, that is yours, and you'll go back to it someday, because your fight will prevail, and you'll have your homes, your mosques, back again, because your cause is right, and God is on your side." You see, a major part of the Operation Cyclone in Afghanistan was to take advantage of the deep religious beliefs and radicalize Islam through the creation of the Mujahideen. The CIA worked with Pakistani's military dictator General Zia-ul-Haq to radicalize Mujahideen fighters when they were sent to Pakistan for training. With funding and assistance from the CIA, they set up hundreds of madrasas, religious schools to teach the recruits weaponized Islam. Tens of thousands of recruits from 43 Islamic countries went through those schools, then onto baptism by fire on the battlefields of Afghanistan. By the mid-1980s, it was no longer a resistance against the Soviets. It was a jihad. And 15 years later, after the Mujahideen jihad in Afghanistan was over, the CIA continued to fund radical clerics in Pakistan with the involvement of Osama bin Laden. Because you never know when you'll need weaponized Islam again. So President Obama, there you have it. We have a new term for you since you don't want to say radical Islam. Weaponized Islam. After all, it's much more accurate, and your predecessors did create it. And it caused decades of epic next-level bullshit all around the world. And there it is, episode 40. What do you guys think of the temporary set, huh? Thanks to all our fans. Our last episode on the so-called dinosaur hoax sparked a lot of discussion. Roy Black on Crack didn't like it much. He wrote, "Paleontology proofs dinosaurs like cryptozoology proofs Bigfoot." Okay. We Love title was a bit more positive. "Really dig how you present the information, man. Keep at it. You earned a subscriber today." Haha, got one more. Thanks, man. Frank Giantonio said this about Christie from the Christians Against Dinosaurs: "If she's doing a Kaufman, she's my hero. I don't disagree with you that fooling around with someone's faith is despicable. There's no question she's playing with fire, but I think Andy would go there too. It's satire on faith itself, and if you're gonna go there, might as well go all the way. And finally, Caxlon said, thankfully, I live in Sweden where wackos like dino deniers and such don't have place in the media and hard science. Most religions are considered obsolete over here, on good grounds. Keep up the good work on making these videos. You guys rock. Thanks. Thank you. So what's today's total?
7 today.
Each time the count reaches 100, I'll donate $100 to charity. Last time it was the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. We're looking for a literacy charity as our next donation. So far, United Through Reading looks pretty good, but we're still open to suggestions. Now, if you find a story that's bullshit worthy, post to any social media site using hashtag NLBS. Or if you're really motivated, make me a video. If I like it, I'll feature you on our next segment. You can also email me anytime at joe@nextlevelbullshit.com. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and watch all our shows on nextlevelbullshit.com. And don't forget to go to thenlbs.spreadshirt.com to get shirts and other cool shit. You know, the stupidity of politicians never ceases to amaze us. This is Alaskan Congressman Don Young. He's taking heat lately for suggesting that a solution to the homeless problem is wolves. Seriously, wolves.